What's up, internet world, and welcome back to the channel. Today it's Elantra N versus Kona N. So the soul of these cars are identical. They both have a 2-liter 4-cylinder that makes 276 horsepower and 289 pound-feet of torque, except this only comes as an 8-speed DCT with an extra 10 horsepower by pushing a button. This guy specifically is a manual transmission, does not have that button. So you have 276 horsepower, 286 horsepower, but you can get them both with a button in the DCT 8-speed automatic. What else? Front end, very sleek, very wide, very red. That does not change when you look at the front of this thing. Very red, not so sleek because it's an SUV, but what about the grills? The grills are different. This thing is smaller, has 2 separate grills. This one, people complain, has no front bumper, just all grill. What are you vibing with? I know that in the front I like that, but I like the fact this has a blackened Hyundai badge. Now, it's unfair to totally poke holes at the front of this thing because yes, this is refreshed, but it's not fully redesigned. This was redesigned sooner than this guy, so it's sort of an older body style. So for sure, this looks just more modern, cleaner, aerodynamic, funky, more me. Now, I'm more biased to this Elantra right off the bat. So when you watch this video, you will see that I like this a little bit better. I do like longer wheelbase cars. Come along the side and check this out. Look how edgy this Elantra is. This headlight wraps around. It's got cool cuts. I love it. On this side, it's nice and smooth and rounded. This is sonic blue for its color, and this guy is cyber gray. But take a look at my favorite part, this wheel gap. Look how small this wheel gap is. And on the Kona, has a lot of play. Even though they're both electronically controlled suspension, that does not mean anything when you have different tires, because this one has Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's and this guy's got Pirelli P0s. They're both performance tires, but my preference is this guy. They have different styles as far as 19, but how about brakes? The brakes are 14.2 inches as far as a rotor, and when you squeeze that pedal, both of these guys definitely stop. Now, moving along here, you will see how this is rounded and boxy and aggressive. And this guy is long and cutty and edgy and flashy. But there's a difference, and that difference is length. This is 18 inches longer than that. 18 inches is massive. Weird, because this thing has a smaller gas tank. It's 3 liters less in this one than that one. How does that have more space for fuel? I have no idea. The spoiler is sort of integrated. It is aggressive, but not as aggressive as this Elantra. This thing is cutty. It looks like a Camaro for some reason. And if you think I'm wrong, comment below. Because the power plants are the same, the exhausts are identical, but you'd like to know that this thing is 150 kilograms heavier than that. Even though that substantially looks way bigger, this is actually lighter than that, which is really, really interesting, especially when you have more trunk room. So how much trunk room, you ask? Well, it depends on what type of object you're putting in. So just for this specific exercise, you have 41 inches worth of depth, and because this thing has a rear cross brace, it gets stuck. 41 and 45. And how about this guy? you've got 28 and 43. There's a big difference in how much you can fit in both cars. Now, when you put the seats down, you can actually fit something that is taller in this, but everything else is gonna be better in that. You'd like to know that both of these vehicles do not have a spare tire, but they both have different interiors because one is older than the other. So we're in the Elantra, which is the longer version if you don't know your Hyundai model. So this one doesn't have a 60-40 split. It's just a single guy. So this whole thing retracts downward. And the only way to do that is through the trunk. There's no way for me to pull these seats down when I'm inside here. This also does not have a rear cup holder, whereas that one does, but it does have a lot more leg room, and it feels like I'm relaxing a lot more in this, whereas in that I'm sitting a lot more upright. But how about headroom? They're pretty much the same. This is a little bit tighter, it feels like, in the headspace. Sort of like a slant back, but not really. But how about speakers? This thing is better because you have a rear parcel shelf with speakers that point upward. Better sound system when you're sitting in the back. How about accessories and good times? Well, there's neither in both. Sitting in the back here, you don't have a USB in either, which is the same as a Volkswagen GLI. Now in the back of the Kona here, and I can tell you there's some subtle differences, especially when it comes to padding, cushion padding in the back. This is definitely more firm. That one is softer. This one feels definitely more upright, like I mentioned. But then what else? How about like elbow support? Well, in the door here, it has padding for my elbow in the Kona, but in that guy, it's all plastic. So the people in the back, especially children, are gonna feel it in their elbows. But what else? How about Alcantara? Well, Alcantara is up here on the upper shoulder part on the Kona. It's leather. But there's one other small tiny thing besides, as I mentioned, the cup holders, is the stitching. This does not have any blue stitching on the edge. It's actually black, but on that guy, it has blue. So when you open the door, you'll see blue stitching predominantly. But on this one, it's missing a stitch. Front seat of the Kona N. The seats are awesome. Nice and snug. I love it. Sport bucket seats. This is DCT, so I have these paddlies. I have this NGS button to give me the extra 10 horsepower. Sweet. Nice big 10.3-inch dual screens on each side. This is touch. Easy to use HVAC controls. Very basic, but very easy to use. I've got the wireless charger there, USBs. Everything feels nice and snug, very compact. Nice circular air vents on the outside and weird sort of square ones on this side. Yeah, feels very snuggy, but really weird heads-up display. Let's compare. Front seat of the Elantra. What an upgrade. These seats are similar, but different. They hug you better. They have upper shoulder support. They've got these cool N lights, just like the original BMW M3s. Albert, thank you very much. The other cool part about it is this curved LCD display. Now it's the same two screens, but it's all curved and integrated into the dash. It's got this LED that slides all the way under the HVAC vents. Cool. Even this is less plasticky, more rubbery feeling. Now I know there's this that has a bit of flex to it, but you have a grab handle for the passenger. This has manual seats. The Kona has automatics on the front left driver's side. Passengers have manual on both sides, so let's keep it at that. Steering wheel, because this is manual, I only have a rev button instead of the N-grin shift, so I lose 10 horsepower. But hey, I can get this in automatic. But as far as driver fit and feel, this definitely feels more lying down. I definitely lower to the ground. Visibility, well, we'll get to in the drive. But in here, it just feels more alive, fresher, newer. And the sound system is magical. Kona N versus Elantra N. What are the differences? Well, in here, definitely there's some differences in terms of how the dash looks, but how about the drive? So we're gonna find out right this second. In the Kona N right now, I'm gonna hit the N button, and I have this extra button, NGS. I'm gonna hit it, and I'm gonna activate launch control and see if that makes a difference. Foot to the ground, launch control ready, and hopefully the camera holds on. Bit of bunny hop. Oh yeah. flies. This suspension is nice and firm. And that's because the short wheelbase compared to the Elantra N. This thing is stiff, short wheelbase, and definitely bumpy. Wowzers. 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 So if you're looking at buying one of these guys or something like this in terms of its size, there's really not much that's this like street game in Japan, Fast and Furious. This is what this embodies. The body kit on the outside, the looks inside, the steering wheel, all this is very like street racer-ish. So I'm expecting everybody to want to race me in this Kona N. I wonder if I'll get that in the Elantra N. In the Elantra N, based on having a hat on, would people still want to race me? And the answer is yes, except the difference is I have great tires. So when I do want to launch this thing, it actually hooks. Just love it. This is like the middle ground car for me because the Kona's super bumpy and just short, like too short for my liking. Better on a track possibly. But this thing, long wheelbase, good tires, it just does a really good job with the suspension on this car. It's definitely not as stiff. I was bouncing on this exact road in the Kona, but in this, I'm more subdued, but still feel tracky enough for the street. So both cars give you that boy racer feel, and both cars will definitely attract attention, maybe the wrong kind of attention, but there's only one that comes in manual, and it's this one. So from an enthusiast standpoint, you're like, manual transmission, the gears are good, on throttle, it hauls well, shifting gears, it makes it engaging. They are fairly tall gears, so you're not really going through the gearbox all that much, but when you do, it's actually pretty decent. The synchros hold well, doesn't have a lot of play to them, and yeah, overall the clutch, some people say the clutch is a bit too high. For me, it's just decent, it's fair. I wouldn't say it's the best clutch, but it's decent enough to have some fun. How could you not pick the Elantra? The only way I could see you not buying this car is if you don't like the name Elantra. Seriously though, people who buy Elantras just want something economical. So when you drive something that's that economical in a sporty version, will you think twice? Now you can say that about the Civic Type R, but it's a Type R, and they have that legendary sort of history there, whereas Hyundai doesn't have the N history here in North America. So for me, that could be the distinguishing factor between buying one of these and not buying one of these, even though it gives you all this stuff for a decent price, including a sunroof. This car just puts a really big smile on my face. It's just so much fun to drive. The driving experience is there, and it's just crazy to me how cars just get better and better, and the driving experience just goes lower and lower. They don't go up together. It's like there's a major disconnect between the dollars spent and the experience felt. Back in the Kona N. This is like a little rally car. Last but not least is price. You see, price, they're very, very close. But when people think, hey, I'm buying a Kona, or someone's like, hey, I'm buying an Elantra, perception may think that the Kona is actually cheaper, but they're the same, or very close, and this actually edges it out. It's a bit more money, depending on the markets you're in, of course. So it's hard to know which one to pick. I really think it comes down to the environment of where you live, how are you going to use the car, and the styling. Because the platform, powertrain, are identical. They both boogie. They both sound awesome. They both are end products, and I'm happy that Hyundai's making them. So hope you guys like this video. As always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.